I think this could be one of the most underrated amps for about 500 quid, or just straight up one of the best amps for about 500 quid. They go for around that sort of money, secondhand and new on sale. You can definitely pick one of these up for 500 quid and a lot less. Any of you know what it is? Any of you know what it could be? Let me grab this. Does that make it any easier for you guys? This is a Line 6 DT25, an amp that came out in 2011, I think. Had some really interesting features and concepts in here for the time especially, and I think some of these things stand up today as well. There's some really great tones in here. Arguably the amp didn't set the world on fire like Line 6 maybe was hoping. Why don't we see this amp around as much as we maybe should? Like I said, I've got a few points and a few ideas on why maybe that is, and we're going to explore them in this video. It's worth saying at this point that this video is not sponsored by Line 6 at all. I've never even had an email conversation with them, and I'm not sure this is going to change after this video. So just bear that in mind for the rest of the video. I hope you enjoy. Let's get into it. So this amp has been kind of hanging around my house for quite a few years now, but arguably sort of its biggest role within the household has been sort of a glorified coffee table, a big beer mat, or somewhere to park your butt in parties when, you know, there's no seats left. And something drew me to this last week. I saw it in the corner of the living room, and I really wanted to pull it out, plug it in, dust it off, and give it a go. Like I said, I've always known it's been a good amp, but plugging it in for the first time in a few years really surprised me. The tones in here are pretty great. I'm going to put it on the floor though, because it's a heavy boy. It's one of the heaviest 1x12s I've come across, so I'll just put it down there for now. I think it's worth mentioning the specs. It is a 25 watt valve amp with 4 amp models in here, 4 customizable amp models that we'll get into in a second. We have 2 channels, reverb, a load of ins and outs for your connectivity and stuff. The eagle-eyed among you may also notice a pretty prestigious name in the amp world on the top of this amp. This was co-designed with Reinhold Bogner of Bogner Amps. And I think you'll probably agree with me that Bogner have made some of the most iconic rock and roll amps in history, you know, so we kind of know we're in good hands. This all sounds pretty good to me so far. You know, it's ticking a lot of boxes here. The 4 amp models we have a Fender clean, we have a Marshall type crunch, British crunch. I think it's actually a model of a Park amp. Then we have an AC30, British chimey sort of thing, and then a higher gain American Boogie type thing. Why do I think that this amp maybe didn't do as well as it maybe should have? I think it's down to a few reasons. Let's get into the first one that I've written down here. I think the use and the constant use and confusion between modelling amp and full valve boutique combo. Line 6 have used both phrases in the marketing of this amp back in 2011, and I think that would cause some real confusion with potential buyers. What is actually going on inside this amp? As far as I can tell with this amp, your signal goes into a digital modelling section, which does sort of most of the heavy lifting when it comes to changing the different models and different amp sounds. That modelling section goes into a classic valve configuration. We have a single 12AX7 preamp valve into 2 EL84 power amp valves, so very normal stuff going on there. If you guys have any more information on the construction of this amp, please let me know in the comments below. You'll also be helping out anybody else watching this video. On top of that, we also have quite a lot of analog tweaking to the sounds. As well as that digital and valve section, we have a negative feedback adjustment, which changes the feel and low end response of the amp models to get them closer in the range of those classic amps. As well as that, we also have Class AB and Class A switching, as well as pentode and triode power amp configurations. That is a hell of a lot of stuff going on inside this amp. An amp that has been described by Line 6 as an all tube valve amp. You know, it's a little weird. So what you just heard should have been some classic Marshall tones inside this amp. The Marshall, or the Park model in here, is probably my favourite out of the four, which is surprising really, because I'm usually more of a Fender guy, but just the Park in here just sounds ace, if you ask me. Sounds great with fuzz pedals as well, but yeah, sounds really good. One of my favourite things about this amp is the customizability that it gives you when it comes to the amp models. Yes, you can set it up classically, you know, for the Marshall you could set it up Class AB with the pentode power amp configuration, or you could really swap that around. You could set it up Class A with the triode, maybe make it a little more chimey, a little more voxy. When you do switch it down to Class A, it does reduce the amp to 10 watts, but it actually seems louder because that's kind of the nature of Class A construction. It really opens things up a little bit, even at smaller wattages. Think Vox AC30s and AC15s. So I really love that flexibility that the amp gives you, and I think it urges you or users to use your ear. This does, however, leave me onto the next point of discussion with this amp. As much as I love this flexibility and customization, has it made the amp lose its identity? What the hell is this amp's identity? You know what I mean? And I think that's a really important thing that is often overlooked with gear like this that gives you so many options. Does this amp actually tick too many boxes? Does it give you too many options? This might seem like a ridiculous notion to some of you, but I think for something that's marketed as a boutique amp, is there too much going on here? You know, you can quite as easily ruin your tone or make, you know, a questionable tone as make an amazing tone. And especially when I think of boutique amps and pedals as well to a certain extent, but boutique amps especially, they've often got only a handful of controls on there. They almost give you the sound and you buy the amp because you want that sound in a way. So the amp's identity is questionable, if you ask me. That being said, the link with Bogner is pretty amazing. I love that Bogner was on board with this design. Like I said at the top of the video, he's made some of the most iconic rock and roll amps out there. I personally think that this is a great looking amp. They really nailed that classic, you know, black and gold vibe that is so familiar to us guitar players in the amp world. And it just looks fancy, you know, from the black and gold look, like I said, to the grill cloth, to the leather handle, to even the knobs on the top that light up and stuff, you know, and the switches that light up depending on what you've selected. It looks like an expensive amp if you ask me. But maybe the badge on here is part of the problem. By now it probably looks like I'm ripping into Line 6 a lot. I'm really not. Right now in 2020, they make some of the best kind of modelling stuff out there. Proper industry standard stuff that you see on thousands and thousands of stages and thousands of people's rigs. But in 2011, were they the same company? What else did they have in their catalogue that would have helped their reputation? And arguably not much. Their Pod series was sort of their flagship modelling stuff, and while I'm sure they sold a boatload of stuff, I'm not sure it ever really had the respect that the Helix stuff has now. Same with their amp range in 2011. They had the Spiders as far as I can tell, and again, I'm not sure that they ever really had the sort of respect in the guitar community. I think the point I'm trying to make here is, did the DT25 come out in the wrong era of Line 6? Imagine if this amp came out now. Imagine NAMM 2021. Not that it's happening, but just imagine. Imagine Line 6 came to that event with the brand new DT25. Imagine it never came out in 2011. Imagine this came out as a brand new product. But without the pod integration, we have serious Helix stuff going on inside of here, as well as the valve construction and the Bogner name on the top. I think this amp would be really, really successful now. So what do you guys think? Let me know what you think about the tones. I think, really, the tones are the most important, aren't they? We know the amp looks good. So what do you guys think about the tones? My personal opinion is that tones sound great. My personal favourite is the Marshall, like I said, but the Fender is also a great sound. I think the Vox sounds good. I think the mid-range control is slightly in the wrong place. And then the Boogie sound is just not my sort of thing anyway. When these came out in 2011, I think the recommended retail was upwards of 700 quid. Was that maybe a little too much? I don't know, maybe. But right now, you can get them new and second hand for quite a way under 500. I think this one in particular was bought on sale at Anderton's for around 300 quid, and for that it's an absolute steal. So is this an underrated amp? I would say so, absolutely. I think this sounds great, and I think it looks the part. It's really, really cool. I think its biggest downfall is the era it was released in, or Line 6's reputation in 2011. I think they've rebuilt themselves into a much more reputable company now, and I think if this came out now, it would be sweet. So let me know what you guys think. I'd love to hear your opinions. If you own this amp, let me know how you get on with it and stuff. I know there is a regular viewer out there who does own this amp, who sent me some videos of some tones. before. So if you own this amp or if you're just interested in it, let me know what you think by the tones in this video and the points I've raised. Also, if you like this slightly different style of video, more of a case study type video, please let me know. I really enjoyed making it, and I've got a few others planned, and the feedback would be greatly appreciated for those. So let me know what you guys think. That's it for now. If you enjoyed the video, please go check out some more and subscribe. If you want to support me and the channel more, there's some links below, like Patreon and Bandcamp, that I really appreciate some of the extra support. And that's about it. Cheers guys, I'll see you in the next one.